everybody. I'm so glad that you have joined me for this conversation that I will have tonight. So many of you know we are journeying to the birthing room. We are believing God for miracle signs and wonders, for breakthrough, for destiny to be revealed, for all of these amazing things to happen as we take this journey. And so, with that, I wanted to have some conversations with some people who can testify of the goodness of God to actually birth something that seemed to be impossible. So, as we take this journey, as we have these conversations, I want to remind you that whatever you are believing God for, it is not impossible. In Luke chapter 1, we know that the angel said it's not impossible. There's nothing impossible for God. There was this conversation that Gabriel was having with Mary. He had a conversation with Elizabeth and Zachariah, talking about the ability to give birth. So we know that we had John, and then we know that we have Jesus, and we know we have Elizabeth, a mother that the Bible says was stricken in her old age and was barren. Then we have the Virgin Mary, who had a holy conception. Nothing is impossible with God. He can do anything but fail. And so, as we are on this journey to the live prayer recording that will take place on Friday, September 29th in Chicago, Illinois, I want to encourage you. Ask you one simple question. What did God say? Did he say it was you? Did he say you were the one that would be able to give forth this testimony of how God worked this thing out for your good? And so, again, I'm having a conversation tonight with some familiar people to me. And I have heard their testimony and I saw the miracle, the miraculous power of God manifest in their lives. And so, we're going to have a conversation with them. So just pack your patience and just sit back and be encouraged by the conversation. Welcome.
Hi.
Hey, y'all. So as you see, it's Theo and Paris Ritter, and they have a bundle of joy sitting with them as our very, very special guest on tonight. And so with that, guys, I want to kind of just dive in. When you get married, what do they say? So when y'all having some kids? That's about so when you're having kids. So kind
I don't even
of
made it
talk
to
to
the
us
altar.
about that. you know, how do you then say that's what we want to do too? But there's this diagnosis.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't even think we made it to the altar before people started asking us that question, which was kind of like, okay, like can the ink dry on the marriage certificate
Right.
first before y'all ask us about these kids? But we honestly, the first year we wasn't even thinking about it. We were just, kind of tell people we want to have kids, but we working on it.
Mm-hmm.
After the diagnosis, we were probably a little quiet about it. So the first year of marriage, we wasn't really trying. The second year, I decided to get off birth control,
Okay.
and so then we started trying, and that's when we realized after about a year, it was like, we should be pregnant, but like
Mm-hmm.
clearly we are being very fruitful. We should be pregnant by now. What's happening? And not really trying to get pregnant, but just
letting the Lord have his way.
yeah. So I decided to. So funny enough, actually, I had like this lump in my face,
Mm-hmm.
um, and I went to the doctor, and the dermatologist asked me if I had PCOS, and I'm like, I've never even heard of such a thing. I have no idea what
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about. And so I immediately scheduled an appointment with my primary doctor and then with my OB. And essentially, they pretty much just went over three common symptoms of PCOS,
Mm-hmm.
which are hirsutism, which is the like male factor growth hair. So like a lot of women experience like they may grow really thick mustaches or beards or hair underneath the
Okay.
chin. So that's one. Um, Crazy periods, really painful periods,
Mm-hmm.
with other, and then like crazy weight gain. So I checked off all 3 boxes pretty much.
Okay.
They were like, "Oh yeah, you have PCOS." And PCOS, if you don't know, stands for polycystic ovarian syndrome, which is a very broad range diagnosis. But one of the main factors is infertility. It's not the only side effect, but it is the main side effect. So a lot of women you can have PCOS and still get pregnant fine and not have any issue. But in my case, there was issue. And so immediately, they put me on medication. I had to get my blood drawn every single month. And we later found out that the issue was ovulation. I was not ovulating. So they put me on ovulation medicine and still had to get my blood drawn to make sure that the medicine was working and that I actually was ovulating. Found out that the medication was working and I was ovulating. After, I want to say maybe about 6 months, I was like, okay, if I'm ovulating, medicine is working or whatever, why aren't I still pregnant? Like, this isn't, making much sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so immediately someone had asked if, it wasn't the doctor. I think I had started talking about maybe changing my diet, and the doctor was like, no, you don't need to do all of that. That's not really necessary. And I said, I mean, I'm a little hefty. I think it might work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think I was a part of a Facebook group or something like that talked about getting my husband checked, which we had never thought about before.
Okay.
And so then we went and got him checked. And so then we found out that we had some issues on his side as well.
Okay.
So I'm gonna talk a little bit more about that, babe.
I mean, it ain't nothing to talk about. Basically, I went and I did the semen analysis, and basically my sperm count was low.
Okay.
They said, but they didn't tell me it was going to be impossible. So I just hung my hat on that. So they said it was low. He did say it would be pretty hard for you to have kids, but they put me on medication, and basically to get everything flowing the right way. And that was pretty much it. I didn't go too many times. I think I only went to see him maybe twice. And I think it was like a 3-month trial of the medication. And we saw a little elevation on my sperm count. And then after that, I never really made it back to him before.
Yeah.
So this is also good to me. So I think I only knew your part, Paris. I don't think I knew this. This is so good as it relates to faith.
Mm-hmm.
So how long after you're going to the doctor taking medicine, Theo, that you guys actually get pregnant?
Maybe it might have been a year. Maybe a year.
Okay. So about 2 years of a process?
Yeah. So yeah, it was about 4 years total, but 2 years once we got our diagnosis, if that makes sense.
Gotcha. And so how did you guys navigate that? Because I know that's emotional. As much as we have faith, we still have emotions.
Yes.
So how did you guys navigate that piece and say, okay, we will not allow ourselves to be overtaken by the diagnosis or what seemingly is impossible, and we're going to work our faith?
So I had decided to start documenting the journey.
Mm-hmm.
I was avid on YouTube trying to find videos of women with the diagnosis, trying to find couples who were kind of like experiencing the same thing. You just try to encourage yourself in other people's stories and journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And for obvious reasons, you won't hear a whole lot of men talking about having male factor infertility. But I came across like maybe 2 couples total of like all of the YouTube couples that I had came across. So I said, you know what, I want to document our journey. And the very first video that I recorded, as soon as I had finished, the Holy Spirit literally dropped, "Our babies are coming." And so I started ending all of my YouTube videos like that, like, "Our babies are coming, our babies are coming." And that just became like our faith confession, that our babies are coming. Now, sure enough, like you said, you get the reports and you meet with the doctors and you're just like, what in the world? Like, I'm doing everything right. Like, I'm doing everything that the doctor's telling me to do. God, I'm trusting and believing in you. Like, why isn't this happening for us? So it's really important who you marry, because I probably was the most emotional, because within society, you do as a woman carry the weight. You know what I'm saying? When it comes to the process, because everyone only puts it on the woman. Number one, number two, you feel like you're less of a woman, and then number three, you like, I love this man, I want to give him kids, and I want to leave a legacy, and all this stuff, and so to feel like you can't do that, crazy. It was just crazy. Yeah. So even in all of that, that was still my faith confession, and he will constantly remind me of that. He will, tell me to put the phone down, stop reading the results. Like, I thought you said our babies are coming. Are they or are they not? It was actually one thing that he said to me that kind of really changed the trajectory of everything, when he was just kind of like, honestly, it's all God. Like, once we really started learning how it all works, because I'm just an avid researcher, so I will go down a rabbit hole of videos and articles, and I'm a Google University scholar. So the more that I'm learning, he's like, this is even more reason why we need to trust God and have faith, because this is not just going to work because we want it to. The way that the sperm has to actually, fertilize the egg, because a lot of people believe that male factor infertility is just low sperm count, and it's not. It's low sperm count if the sperm is not shaped correctly to fertilize your egg. If they're slow swimmers, because our bodies actually reject the sperm, which is why they shoot out millions, but only 1 or 2 or 3 actually make it, because our body's like, oh, what is that? Kill it, kill it, kill it. So it's a lot that goes into it. And so he was just kind of like, there's nothing we can do but trust God. And so that was really the thing that kind of got me through, for sure, was just confessing and believing, like, our babies are coming. I don't know how, I don't know when. And I just kept telling myself, I'm not my diagnosis. I'm not infertile. I'm not infertile. I am going to produce. That is what the Bible has called us to be: fruitful and multiply. And we are being fruitful, so we will multiply. So I changed that as well. I kept telling myself, I'm not my diagnosis. I'm not my diagnosis. I'm not infertile. I'm fertile, and these babies are coming.
That is amazing. So Theo, with her admitting that she was just Google, the professor of Google, and the fact that she was researching, and just, it's nothing wrong with gathering all the information, but when the information overwhelms you in such a way that that it starts messing with your faith, how did you deal with your wife?
How did I deal with her is a whole story. So how did I deal with her? I kind of stayed away from all of that, to be honest. Like, she was Googling and all of that. It was too overwhelming for me. Like, just all the information, and then dealing with the ups and downs of her emotions, and then still trying to be strong for her, because honestly, I never thought we weren't going to have kids. Like, even when she got her diagnosis, I got my diagnosis, I was just like, yeah, I don't really believe that. I mean, I saw myself as a father. I saw myself having kids. I saw us having,
That's
kids.
good.
So I just hung my head on that, to be honest. So I just knew it was a process. It was a journey. When we thought we wanted to have kids, I just felt like maybe we weren't ready. It wasn't the right time. So I just hung my head on that. And she was consuming herself with so much information and so many doctor YouTube videos, and then watching other YouTube couples and applying it to herself. And I'm like, listen, that don't have nothing to do with what we got going on over here. Like, you know what I'm saying? You can't take in all of this information and then just make it your situation. So my whole thing was, listen, this is our process. You done already said it. You done spoke it. Our babies are coming. We just gonna rock with that. And when she gets here, or when they get here, or when he gets here, it'll be that. But I never really was a part of the documenting process because I didn't want to wallow in the sorrow of, oh, they say we can't have kids. So the documentation was all her, and I was staying away from it because I didn't want to be consumed with the negative side of it. Because I knew I had to hold her up because she wasn't gonna stay off YouTube, and she was gonna figure out how she was gonna get pregnant. And so I just let her do her thing and have her moment. And she would have her strong days, and when she have her weak days, you know, I had to pick and choose when I just let her sit and when I let her cry. And when I'd be like, hey, cut this light on.
Yeah. Get up out of here. I'm up out of here. No.
Yeah. So it's really just me gauging everything, you know, with her.
That's wisdom. That's wisdom. Because again, like she said, you do have to be married to the right person because you just never know, you know, how to navigate that. So it is in being married to the right person who's able to just be able to navigate you through that. So I just have maybe one or two other questions. One, how important was your community, your families? You both come from very strong Christian foundations. It's in your DNA. It's in your blood. It's who you are, period, as a man and woman of God. So kind of how did having a strong community help you?
Well, I mean, it's really all in what you said. Really, my mom is everybody's like go-to advice girl, right? And I remember bawling, crying, like snot nose crying, because that's the Lord had put on my heart to start a support group for women who were trying to conceive so that I could stop consuming myself with the YouTube stuff and with all of the like negative reports and turn it into a positive and get people to focus back on having faith and trusting and believing in God that their babies were coming. And I remember when God gave it to me, I bawled out crying because I said, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to be the face of infertility. I have so many other things going on. I don't want to do that. And I called her and she was like, she's like, I think you're looking at it the wrong way. You're not going to be the face of infertility, but you're going to be the face of victory. You're going to be the face of triumph. Like, you're going to be the face of faith. And she was just like, and that was it. She was kind of like, so you're either going to trust God and do it, or you're going to, you know, or not, but the choice is yours. And it was probably the only time in my life my mother had very little to say. But I think that was really the starting point or the jumping point to really just, for as far as our community is concerned, that. And then we go to the Fountain of Truth Christian Center with Bishop Michael Jones and Pastor Brenda Jones. And Pastor Brenda always has shared her story as well. She also had difficulty conceiving her 5 boys. Wow. 5 boys. And so I've been at the fountain since I was a kid. So I never put 2 and 2 together that God is always going to have you where you need to be. Because who would have thought 20 years later, here I am now having difficulty conceiving, and I've been under the leadership of someone who too also had difficulty conceiving. And so it just, again, I think randomly, to back it up, we had a giving service at our church. And it was just about sowing seeds into whatever it is that you're believing God is going to do in your life. And we hadn't really talked about what we were going to sow, because I think I was pretty much at my wit's end with this baby journey stuff. I was just kind of like, I don't care no more. I had really got to the point of, God, I actually like my husband. Like, I love my husband, but I actually like him. I actually like being around him. We had just got a dog. So I was just like, if it's just me and him until the end, then that's all I need. I'm good. And so the Holy Spirit just kept pressing on my heart to sow a seed for our baby. And I was just like, I really don't want to do that. Like, at this point, I don't know. Got up. I'm like, okay, let me not be disobedient. Got up. We sowed. And immediately the entire church got up and they all started sowing too. So our entire church family got up and sowed. I'm like, really emotional thinking about it. But our entire church family even got up and sowed on behalf of our child, just standing and believing with us that our baby was coming. And even his family, his grandmother is the sweetest. that's my gaga. Like that, she is the absolute sweetest. And she will always, when we go visit with her, she will randomly, just give me words of encouragement. Very sweet, like not like, hey, where my great grandchild at, but just, hey, I was watching this this preacher. I want you to come and listen to this clip. Or, hey, I was reading and studying the Bible today and I came across this scripture. I want you to read it. She was constantly just like, again, on the days when I felt weak and I didn't really want to like get on his nerves, our community just really like wrapped their arms. Even our pastors, Pastor Matt and Lady TJ, they were the ones who really like put in us too, like, don't claim the diagnosis, because once I got my diagnosis, I started to become an advocate to find like for PCOS and making sure that they were finding a cure. And I joined this organization. I'm joining the fight and stuff. And they were like, hello, what are you doing? Like, what you're doing isn't bad, but just make sure that you're not taking ownership of the diagnosis and trying to make God give you your baby through the diagnosis. Just don't claim the diagnosis and believe that God can do it. So it's having people around you like that just offers different perspectives. So that way, you don't just stay in your own mind. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just, it was just amazing the way that our family and that our friends really wrapped their arms around us and really believed for our baby with us, and not just not just to say it, but to really like believe it.
Good stuff. Theo?
Well, I just remember, like she said, we would go sit with my grandma and my aunt. My cousin would always say, I see a little girl and she coming. And they wouldn't specifically, put it on us, because you know how that can be sometimes when you're in the middle of a situation and somebody telling you your blessing is on the way and this and this and that. And you don't know when that's coming. It could be years before that baby come. And I think it might have been like a good 2-year span where they kept seeing a little light-skinned, chunky cheek baby. And at the time, another cousin of mine was trying too. And I was just like, well, maybe it's theirs, because we ain't seeing no signs. But they would just be encouraging. They wouldn't overstep. They wouldn't really ask too much about the process and everything, because you don't want to keep rehashing that. You know what I'm saying? So it was just everybody being positive and just, saying encouraging things when, they sensed that it was needed, but it wasn't too overbearing. And that was the big thing, because, sometimes it could be a lot to just over and over talk about it. So I think that was the biggest thing. And
Good stuff. Community is everything. It can help shape your destiny and help you, stay focused on. I think it's key that Pastor Matt said, don't own that. No, don't own it. You want to help other people with the diagnosis, great, but don't you own it, because we're believing God for a miracle. And so I think that's amazing. So my last question before I have you actually speak to other couples that have been where you are, or where you were, excuse me. I want to go back to the time that you videoed and let us know that you were pregnant.
That video is hilarious.
So it's so funny. So Thanksgiving 2020, you were born in 22, so 21. All I remember is me and my sister was hosting a game for the family to play, and I was on one side of the living room. The next thing I knew I was on the couch, and then I was talking to Theo's sister, and we were talking like, yeah, I feel like my period's supposed to be coming in a couple of days, but I feel like I don't feel no symptoms. I just, but PCOS girl is crazy. She's like, girl, me and mine supposed to be coming, so we done linked up. So we just having this whole conversation, right? Next thing I know, I fall asleep on the couch and it was out. The next day coming, I'm like, I need to I said, nope, I'm not going to do it, because I had swore off pregnancy tests almost a year to the day. No, I think it actually was. No, I think it was exactly a year when I took and I got my positive pregnancy test. I had a false positive pregnancy test the year prior. And so I told myself, I ain't taking another pregnancy test until I know that I know that I know that I know. So this was Thanksgiving, right? So day after Thanksgiving, one thing about me, I don't like leftovers, especially like big holiday leftovers. So But I was tearing those Thanksgiving leftovers up. Didn't think much about it. I'm thinking it's just, I'm just eating.
She was eating and sleeping.
Eating and sleeping. So I want to say probably the day before my period was due to come, I said, I think I'm going to take a pregnancy test because I've been tearing those leftovers up and I have been extremely exhausted. And that is not really like me.
Mm-hmm.
So I got up early. 6:30 in the morning early and was like, I'm going to take this test. Took the test. And I was like, this isn't correct. Like, I was very, very excited, but shocked. Like, I know this does not say positive. Like, God, are you like? It was a rush of emotions, and I was really trying to cry quietly because he was still asleep, and so it was. It was really a moment to just remember just like how God does not lie. Like he really does. And if you really just take your hand off the situation, because probably like 2 or 3 months prior to the to the positive pregnancy test, we both had stopped taking our medication.
Yeah.
We were like, he kind of was already on and off, kind of sort of missing it, taking it whenever.
Once I saw that increase, I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm like,
and I was kind of, and I, like I said before, I had got to the point to where I was kind of like, God, I'm good. Like, if it's just me and him, I'm good. So I had stopped taking the medicine. I was like, I'm gonna just, rock out, just the two of us. And so it was just like, God, you didn't forget about us. You heard our prayers. You heard our cries. We sold and trusted and believed, like, and you did it. You really did it. So I get back in the bed. I'm all excited. And I think I made up some excuse to like run to Walmart so I can get another pregnancy test just to be sure. And I wanted to get him some gift to surprise him because I was not going to be able to hold that at all. So I think as soon as Walmart opened, I went. This is like December 1st or something at this point, because I took the test. It was the day after Black Friday. So yeah.
It was a couple of days after
Black Friday.
We had just bought a dog.
Yes.
On Black Friday.
Yes.
So
yeah, that was very interesting timing. So I always say we are parents of 2 under 2 because yeah. But yeah, so I came home with the gift, ran to the bathroom, took the pregnancy test, and I was like, this also says positive. I'm pregnant. Like, I am pregnant. I am walking and living in what I have prayed for the last two years since the diagnosis, but really a 4-year journey that we have been walking. Like, it was one of those times. I felt like I could finally say, I'm not talking it because I heard it. I'm talking it because I know it. So like, I know God to be a provider. I know him to be a healer. Like, I know this. Like, I know, like, I finally sit in the ranks of Hannah and Sarah and Elizabeth, and like, I sit with them now when people talk to them barren and broken and it ain't gonna work and it's not gonna happen, but it happened for them and it has finally happened for me. And I couldn't do anything but cry and rejoice because it was just like, God, what? Like, I've been saved all my life. But it was like, if there was ever a time, if I never knew you to be for real in my life, I know this time. Because the doctors told us it was going to be very difficult. We talked to an IVF doctor. He told us, maybe 50% chance. We talked to the same doctor. He told us if we did IUI, which is basically taking his sperm and inserting it inside of me, 30% chance. So our chances of conceiving naturally were very low. So for it to have happened, and for it to have happened naturally, it was just kind of like, you really gotta just trust God with your process and with your story. Because your story, there are women that I know who, got pregnant sooner. Some are still waiting and trusting God for it. But your story is your story, and your process is your process. And this is God's child. Like, that's just how I feel. Like, this God's baby, because he was just like, now you're ready. I don't know what the turn of events was for him to say that we are ready. And maybe it was just us saying, you know what? We're done. Or maybe me saying, I'm done trying to force it. And I'm just going to let you be God and do it.
Lastly, before we go, this has been so good and encouraging. Theo, encourage another couple who is journeying through this, who believes, or maybe don't believe, but encourage them to walk out the affirmation or the confession that the baby is coming.
Wherever you are in your situation, whether you're still believing, whether you've postponed your belief, whether you've sworn it off, just know that it can happen. Like she said, we had a 50 to 30% chance, basically to no chance of having naturally, and this baby came naturally. This baby came naturally with no hiccups during the pregnancy. I could say she had almost the perfect pregnancy, for real. Just know that it can happen and take the stress off. I believe when she said she don't know what the turn of events was, I think it was when we actually took the stress of it all off. Then we were able to, rest in what was to come. I think you have to take the stress off and not dwell on the negative. Don't dwell on the negative. No matter what your situation is looking like, no matter how bad it is or how bad you feel it is, just know that it's a process. And if you're trying and if you're holding on to your faith and you're trying to be strong, take the stress off and enjoy your process, because you will miss years of your life trying to have a baby. If you just enjoy your life and do what you're supposed to do to have that baby, and that baby will come when it's supposed to come. But you have to take the stress off, because another thing is, when your body is stressed and you're under all that stress, you can't really receive and go through the process of what you're supposed to do anyway. And that's even if you don't have any diagnosis. You know what I'm saying? If you stressed and you stressed out, your body can't do what it's supposed to do anyway. So I would tell her, like, girl, let's just not think about it and take the stress off. That's the biggest thing I can say. Fellas, just try to be encouraging. Try to be able to deal with the ups and the downs, because there were so many ups and downs, so many highs and lows, so many random crying moments. And I get awkward when somebody crying. So it's like, girl, what's wrong with you? Like, why you tripping right now? So just know that you have to be the strong one. No matter if you feel like your wife, how strong your wife can be, you gotta be that thing for her to lean on, because like she said, the weight is placed on the woman, to be honest. So you gotta be able to encourage her and tell her that it can still happen. You know what I'm saying? Because Paris is very strong. Paris was encouraging herself, but Paris had moments where she was like, I don't think it's gonna happen. And I had to be like, girl, we not doing that. Like, we not doing that. So fellas, be able to handle the highs and lows and know that at times you're going to be the only one that believes it can happen. And you got to be that strong one. And worship.
Yeah.
I believe, like, there was moments where we would just cut everything off and just play worship music through the house. Even when we was frustrated or irritated with each other, she would be playing worship music. You know what I'm saying? It was just, there was a couple times where, like I said, I tried to stay away from the situation, and my release was in worship. You know what I'm saying? So all my emotional release was in worship. So, yeah. Yes.
There was this, so he leads worship at our church sometimes. And there was actually this was actually still during the pandemic. I'll never forget it. He was singing Wait on the Lord, Wait on You by Maverick City. And he just kept saying, there's a blessing in waiting if you just wait on the Lord. And he just kept saying it. And I actually served in the media department. So I think that day, I think it was Mother's Day or something, and I worked the camera on the floor, and I don't normally work the cameras on the floor. I normally am in the media suite doing, but I had to work the camera on the floor that day. And so I was very close because it was almost like he was talking to me almost, but he wasn't. He was really just ministering. But it was just kind of like, you got to pay attention to when God is speaking. Like it was like those pivotal moments that again just kind of like gave me that recharge where I was good for at least the rest of the month. Or maybe just a week, I don't know. But it was still like those pivotal moments, and I literally will never forget that particular Sunday because he had on a peach crew neck. I'm down to what he wore. I just remember, and I could see him vividly like singing that song. That's that particular Sunday, and it was just like, because I was boohoo crying all day on the camera because all the mothers were there, and they were kind of, and our church always celebrates the moms on Mother's Day, and it was just kind of like, why am I down here on the floor working on all Sundays? I cannot work this camera. I need to be back upstairs in the balcony. But yeah, it was just. So to his point about worship, sometimes to just clear out all of the noise so that you can hear what God is saying. Because if you're like me and you spend a lot of time on YouTube and Google, you will literally hear every voice but God. And it's not it's not worth it. It's really not driving yourself crazy like that.
One other thing, I'm sorry, but
it's okay. It's good.
This situation is not. There's not like a stair step to the result with this. Like, there's no way to see improvement for real. There's no way to gauge, okay, I'm 60% closer to being pregnant. So you just got to remain strong. And because when your blessing happens, it's just going to happen. So you can't, like I said, stay off of YouTube, like trying to figure out solutions. And like, she stopped taking pregnancy tests because there's no way to gauge when it's gonna happen. There's no way to gauge how close it is. You know what I'm saying? My body is reacting to it's no way to know. So, like I said, you just gotta remain faithful and remain strong. That's it.
So good, and it happened suddenly. That the suddenly of God is possible when you take the limits off of your own emotions. Like, drop all of that and just focus in on the fact that this is what God has said in the daily confession. Our babies are coming. Confess it, believe it, walk it out, cry, wipe your tears, confess it, walk it out, drink your water, worship the Lord, keep your community close, do all of the things that matter to the manifestation of the promise. And look at the promise. She is beautiful and amazing. And I could see her clapping when the intro video was coming on. Yes. She's a worshiper. She's a praiser. And so amazing how God orchestrates timings and seasons in our lives for us to have the ability to tell somebody else and encourage somebody else of the goodness of the Lord. And so thank you so much, Theo and Paris Ritter, for being here with us to share your story, to remind us that God is a God that does not lie. If he said it, he will perform it. It's the process that we have to go through sometimes that gets in the way of us actually just honing in and locking in. And so thank you both so much for locking in. Thank you, Theo, for being what she needed when sometimes you like, girl, get yourself together. And so we are so grateful for you being a testament of the goodness of God. And so thank you so much for sharing your story. And we appreciate you. And again, to all of you that are viewing, know that this is possible. God can do what you are expecting and believing. And again, going beyond just the natural birthing, whatever you are believing God to birth in you spiritually, God can do that as well. Destiny, purpose, all of those things are in his will for your life. Lock in, hone in, grab hold, because he can do it immediately and suddenly according to your faith. And so this has been Journey to the Birthing Room with Pastor Dana. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, be blessed in Jesus' name.